Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Thursday, October 30th edition of the Daily Pulse. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, coming here from the WellPoint Studios here in downtown Lowell, and today it's a special edition of the Daily Pulse. Special because it will feature one of the candidate debates in the upcoming Lowell municipal election. The two candidates vying for the District 8 Lowell City Council seat, that is the Upper Highlands seat as it's more commonly known. They're both joining us here in studio this morning, and we're grateful to have them both here. Marcos Candido on the left. How are you, Marcos? Good to have you here again.
It's good. I'm glad to be here again, and I'm excited to be talking.
All right,
Yeah.
Cool. John Dakota is with us as well. John, how are you, sir?
Very well, Teddy. Appreciate the invite from Inside Lowell.
Well, I appreciate the two of you coming back. We actually did this before with Francisco Maldonado during the preliminary. Now it's the two of you in the runoff. Some new things have popped up in the news here in Lowell, some new issues, so we'll talk a little bit more. But I do encourage folks out there, obviously watch this candidate forum, but also if you get a chance, go back and check out the one from August, because there are some other issues there. So if you want to learn more about where the candidates stand on the positions, if you want to be an informed voter and you haven't already voted, here's an opportunity for you to learn more about the candidates in District 8. We're going to get right to our discussion in a quick moment, but of course, this being the Daily Pulse, I have to thank my Daily Pulse sponsors. You know about Ray Booten, right? He's a licensed realtor in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. He's a certified appraiser in both states as well. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property, find Ray Booten today. And you can find him easily enough online, realestaterayBooten.com. That's realestaterayBooten.com. And of course, we want to thank WellPoint for hosting us here in the WellPoint Studios. It's the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to GIC workers. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. We've got a bunch of other sponsors, and we're going to thank them on other shows because we want to get right down to it. Just review the format of this discussion for both candidates. We will have a 1 minute or so opening statement from each of you, a 1 minute or so closing statement from each of you. In between, we'll ask a number of questions. We're going to alternate the order in which we respond first to the questions. Everything we do kind of alphabetically is how we start things. Each candidate will have an opportunity to answer each question, except for one that has a little bit of a twist, given that, Marcos, you have not serving currently on the council, and John, you have, sir. So I got a little bit of a twist on that, but it is basically the same question. If at any point one of you has been mentioned, criticized specifically in your opponent's remarks, please let me know, and we will give you an opportunity to do a brief rebuttal and have a little back and forth. So without any further ado, we'll get down to it. Again, the order was determined alphabetically. We start with our opening statements. Marcos Candido, the floor is yours, sir.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Teddy, for inviting me here. As always, I'm always excited to talk about my platform and engage the voters. And with this being our final debate, it's pretty exciting. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Marcos Antonio Candido Jr. I'm one of the candidates for District 8. I was born and raised in this city to two immigrant parents. I went through our public school system. After I graduated high school, I was fortunate enough to get my degree in neuroscience from Johns Hopkins University. And after that, I did some research on addiction at our federal labs at the NIH, where I also spent a good part of my time there organizing alongside the UAW and some colleagues for the first largest federal union to form in over a decade. I'm really proud of this experience. I'm looking to bring my data-oriented mindset and, my spirit of change into City Hall to be a strong advocate, for proven solutions that will help tackle a lot of the root causes to our cost of living crisis, looking to for more affordable housing opportunities, whether you're a renter to a homeowner, improving our street infrastructure so that we can boost our economy, make our streets safer, and lastly, making sure we're fully funding our schools and better supporting early childcare where we can. My campaign since day one has been really about helping working people, and I'd like to be your city councilor. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Dakota, your opening statement, sir.
Thank you, Teddy. You'll excuse me. I had an opening and a closing statement already prepared, had it memorized and everything, but an incident occurred a couple of days ago, and I've kind of changed my mindset. So for the viewers, I'd probably be reading a lot of my opening statement and my closing statement. I just didn't have time to memorize it. So here we go. My opponent recently posted a video on social media where he laughed and called me a do-nothing guy. A do-nothing guy? Either he hasn't been paying attention, or maybe he doesn't know about the issues. Maybe he doesn't know about Callery Park, where in a motion I filed to repurpose the park and uncovered that a parochial school was in line to take over control of the park without the input of the neighborhood. Maybe he doesn't know about Ideal Tape Company, who released toxic chemicals in the Highlands neighborhoods, and I was the only counselor who questioned and demanded answers. Maybe he doesn't know that the developer, Salopoli, who was violating his contract with the city in the Hamilton Canal District, and that I was the counselor demanding answers and compliance. Maybe he doesn't know about my motion to combine the city and school department as it relates to a full and comprehensive facilities department in order to save the city money. Maybe he doesn't know about the Smith-Baker Center, a project that I actually voted for to demolish, but after speaking with a constituent in my district, they formed a group, and it looks as though they have secured financing through the RFP. They were the only bidder, and it looks like it could become a jewel in the neighborhood. And maybe he doesn't know about the Front Runner City or the Link projects, which I have championed and supported, that will bring housing and jobs into the city. Maybe he knows nothing about this do-nothing guy. I take exception to my opponent's attempt to label me as a do-nothing guy when my record shows the opposite. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We'll get right to our questions, and I'm sure you'll both have an opportunity to address a lot of what was just said in your opening statements. I want to start, though, and I want to give credit to my friend Marty Laurie for asking this on a radio debate a week ago, because it triggered a memory in this old guy about an iconic debate line from 1980, when then candidate Ronald Reagan was debating President Jimmy Carter and asked, "Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago?" So here's a question for you. Is the city of Lowell better off today than it was 2 years ago when the last council election was held? Mr. Dakota, you get the first.
Okay. Well, I would definitely say most definitely yes. Obviously, with the influx of $75 million in opera money, has made a huge difference in our infrastructure, roads, sidewalks, parks, greener areas that we have. I think we've seen an uptick in downtown, which is exactly what we've been missing for quite a few years. So I've seen a lot of pop-up businesses come in, and I think we're going on the right track. And with the Front Runner City fast approaching with a project that's coming to fruition within the next couple of weeks, with a big announcement of monies that will be coming in for our first project, I think the city is much better off than it was 2 years ago.
All righty. Mr. Candido.
Yeah, I think the question's a pretty interesting one. I think, sort of like Dakota just said, I think our city has taken some steps to slowly improving. I mean, like the Front Runner City and Link, sort of all of these things developing is certainly, not material improvements yet, but certainly improvements. We've been upgrading our parks. We've been doing some things at the city level, but I hesitate to really say that translates as much as people may think towards, regular working people. Again, we're still a city where 20% of the population, 20% of our households can't afford a $700 rent. We're still, a city that's pretty disconnected, that doesn't have public transit that's on par with, other similar sized cities. So I think although our city has been doing diligent work to, begin taking steps, I think there's a lot more work to be done. A lot of working families are still struggling in District 8 and, all over Lowell. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you both. Next question, and we'll start with you, Mr. Candido, on this one. The next city budget is shaping up to be one that includes a hefty tax increase. According to the manager, 1.6% increase alone to account for the high school construction project. And then with all the other expected costs, if you take a standard increase of 2.5%, plus 1.6, you're already over 4%. That's assuming that we stay at just a 2.5% other than the high school. Is a 4% plus tax increase acceptable to you? And if not, tell me where you would specifically cut or reduce spending to avoid having to increase taxes by that much for the people who don't want to pay more taxes in the city.
Yeah. The tax question is always really, really hard. I think I hesitate to call for cutbacks, usually ever, because as we've seen, every time we do cutbacks, we cut back on our most critical departments and programs. I mean, if you even look at this year when our property taxes went up and our budget went up, our city council still voted to cut millions of dollars from the public school system. So I can't imagine if we are actually having a difficult time. I just think cutbacks always hurt the most critical parts of our society. I think the most important thing we have to be doing is making sure we're spending our tax dollars as efficiently as possible. When you're spending more money into the city and it's cutting public services, people get angry with property taxes. We need to be increasing our taxes creatively. So that means trying to shift our property tax away, or shift the tax burden away from property taxes by allowing for more multi-use zoning, multifamily, working with commercial spaces, and doing other things to make sure that it doesn't all fall solely on homeowners, and also making sure we're spending that money directly on things like infrastructure, schooling, and other things, so that we're more directly benefiting our residents.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Candido. Mr. Dakota, to you.
What Marcus had pointed out, failed to point out, was that I also was the one that made the motion to put $2 million back into the school system as well, which saves 17 jobs. I thought it was the right thing to do at the time. Those were very important positions, I thought, in the school system. Just from having worked there for 18 years, I kind of knew the dynamic of that. And between City Manager Golden and Superintendent Skinner, we thought that was the right number, and the City Council agreed. Pertaining to the tax, yes, we are looking at a pretty big note for the high school project, which I'm still not even sure that price is not going to go up. We haven't even touched the Colburn Hall yet, which is the oldest building at the high school. So brace yourselves. We're also looking at healthcare costs that are skyrocketing. We're looking at charter school reimbursement that the state legislature has to do something with that formula. We are paying exorbitant amount of money for the charter schools, and that needs to stop. Looking at ways on how to try to cut that without going over a 5%. We may have to look at some of the opera positions that we put in. We may have to look at some ESSA positions that the school department put in and tighten our belt there. I was always a proponent of cross-training our people in city and school departments. And I think that's something that we may want to do, because I will not vote for anything more than 5%. We did that 3 years ago. In the last 2 years, when I was in council, it's been 3.5 and 2.5. So 5.5 is just way too much. And Marcos is right. We families can't afford that at this point. We just can't.
All right. Thank you both. Next question, and we'll start with you, Mr. Dakota. Builds a little bit on the tax question. The word affordable. Mr. Candido, your campaign has focused on affordable home ownership, affordable rents, affordable Lowell, I believe, was one of your social media slides. Mr. Dakota, your colleagues, the administration talk an awful lot about affordable home ownership and affordable housing. The trick nobody has been able to pull off, as I see it, is attaining affordability while maintaining the same high standard of living that we're used to in Massachusetts, and the market forces that work against affordable construction in Massachusetts, and other parts of the country, to be fair. What specifically can you do as a city councilor to create a more affordable Lowell, and, as most people are focusing on, affordable housing? Mr. Dakota, we start with you.
And I think you started it out correct. Affordable home ownership is what we are looking at. Obviously, there needs to be a balance between market rate and affordable housing. And the more market rate helps the public service, it also creates more affordable housing with market rate housing. I think if we can create that balance of market rate and affordability, I think you'll see a lot better instances that people can afford those houses. I look at River's Edge. It's a perfect example of the American dream. Julian Steel used to be Section 8 housing over there. Now people own all those houses. There's 16 actually duplexes that are on the planning right now to be built. We need more of that. So people, like Marcos had pointed out, people need to be able to afford to live in this city. So I think with more market rate and more commercial business, that's key to me. More business, more commercial, bigger tax base, less on the residents. We got to create more businesses. And I think you're seeing it now. Tuesday night City Council meeting, Chancellor Chen pointed out all the businesses that are coming into the city. We have $25 million. It's just that Draper is going to be building on Hamilton Canal. Think about the tax revenue there. Once the Link project is finished, you're looking at $4 to $6 million a year in tax revenue. That will take the burden off the residents of the city of Lowell. And I think that will make it a lot better.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Candido, to you.
Yeah. So I absolutely agree that, there's got to be a balance between market rate and, your average affordable housing. I think affordable housing has had a bad name. I think the quality of living for affordable housing can be just as high as, any other sort of housing. I think it's just about just doing it. Honestly, I think it's very possible. I think if we look as, Dakota mentions a lot, the sort of housing being built in our city. If you really go down that list, I would honestly guess, I haven't done it myself, like 80 to 85% or more of it is just market rate, which is not enough to change. We're not building enough in general anyway to really make the market rate, through the free market, lower the rents that way. And so it's disappointing that we're only building market rate in a city, as I've mentioned a lot of times, where 20% of households cannot even afford a $700 rent. So what I think as I could do as a city councilor is just making sure, we're earmarking more money to sort of support these things. I think, as Dakota mentioned, and as we've been talking about a lot over the months and stuff, is how millions and millions of dollars are going to be coming into the city through either direct investment or through indirect investment by like the increased taxes. I think making sure we're, again, earmarking some of that money towards more affordable housing, towards things that actually improve not only just the downtown district, but all over Lowell. And I think one thing I would like to also mention is that if we want to save, people money, if we want to boost our economy and make sure that people are able to save money on top of rents, we need better public transportation throughout the entire city. That's one of the best ways we can boost our economy alongside making sure we're actually building affordable housing. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Dakota, you wanted an opportunity
just quickly,
to respond?
Understanding what Marcos had said about there's not enough affordable. I think the city council has done an outstanding job working with the Coalition for a Better Acre, Lowell Housing Authority. We already have in the pipeline the North Canal. We're looking at another 300 units of affordable housing. 100 of them will be for seniors. Mass Mill Boilers, another 16 affordable units. 733 Broadway, another 52 units. So we are making the effort to get more affordable housing in. And once again, and we both agree on this, it's the balance and trying to get that balance to be a 60-40 type of thing. But I just wanted to point that out.
Okay. You want an opportunity to reply?
No, I don't really have. No, it's okay. It's okay.
We'll move it on. Since we last gathered here in August, safe injection sites have become a hot topic in the city. Legislation, again, proposed on Beacon Hill, whether that includes a local option or not, but the city council voted to try to get the word out. We don't want to allow them in the city of Lowell. Would you support the city allowing safe injection sites as part of harm reduction centers if the state okays them? And if so, would you be okay with it being located somewhere in District 8, the Upper Highlands? Mr. Candido, we start with you.
Yeah. So first, like what are these safe injection sites? I guess for people who are, viewing and don't know, they're sort of, they're just medical facilities where there are professionals, where people who use drugs, who intravenously inject drugs, are able to just bring whatever they got and, able to do these sorts of things in a supervised area. And there's a lot of reasons for why I support them. I think, if you just go through the research, it shows, it reduces overdose deaths. It reduces the spread of communicable diseases. You get rid of needles much faster or right away in the same location. And because all of this is sort of happening in a facility, you're reducing the sort of interaction with people out on the streets and people who are using drugs, which can sometimes be violent. You're literally taking the sort of public nuisance that everyone is complaining about and putting it in a building and making sure they're also receiving proper support. All the data says that it also does not increase local crime rates, local drug use. So when you really are looking at the research and see what these safe injection sites do, they're able to reduce the amount of deaths in our community, especially our homeless community that is disproportionately impacted by facing abuse like with drugs. And also, I think it's also critically important to make sure, though, that, that the next step is actually taken, that the next step is there to be able to connect to a longer, healthier, sober, stable life. I think there are great programs in Lowell that would be able to even closely integrate with something if a safe consumption site, ever happened in our city. So for those reasons, I support it. As far as, where it would be, it wouldn't make sense for it to ever be in District 8. I mean, these things are specifically meant to help people who are in the middle of an addiction crisis, and we just don't have that population in District 8. So it would probably go somewhere in the downtown area. But that's just a matter of logistics, and also the city wouldn't be building one. It would be up to, whoever decided that. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dakota.
I would not be in favor of safe injection sites. I don't think we're here to perpetuate drug use. Drugs are illegal. I think first and foremost they are. I understand that Marcos wants to have a place to do that and prevention, and well, who pays for that? The taxpayers. Taxpayers are going to pay for all this. You want a new building, you want a building, you want people there to help with the prevention. That takes money as well. Do we have a plan for something like that? I haven't heard of a plan from Marcos yet, or how he would do it. I at this point, I just don't agree with it. I'm and definitely not in District 8. In fact, I know that the city manager and the council, we are looking to see if there's other sites that we can move the Lowell Transitional Center to a place that maybe we might be able to do something like that and help with the prevention and helping people. Speaking with Lisa Golden at City Hall, since June, they've had 30 people that have gone into a detox program. They are making a difference right now, and it's not costing anybody else any money. I'm worried about, how do you sustain something like this? Or do you put the burden on the taxpayer to do something like this?
All right. Thank you both. Next question. We'll start with you on this one, Mr. Dakota. Frontrunner City has been mentioned already today. Lowell is set to receive a massive infusion of development money from this initiative. We here at Inside Lowell reported last week that potentially $300 million will arrive by the end of November. You said maybe in the next couple of weeks. Perhaps $5 billion or more, according to some folks, part of the Frontrunner City program, would be arriving to Lowell in the coming years. Name one specific project or type of project you would push to develop in District 8. We've heard about Jam +1, South Common, a whole bunch of stuff, but how would District 8, can you think of a project that would benefit District 8 specifically? Mr. Dakota.
Actually, I believe when we came back from Toronto, we had some rendering drawings of what some of the project would look like. And one of the projects was for the Crosspoint Towers and all that area where the Showcase Cinemas is, and looking at all housing, mixed use, retail, restaurants there. Right now, there's only Tavern in the Square right there, and all that land is there. And I think it'd be great coming right off the highway, and that is basically District 8, and I think it'd be a huge boost to the economy as well.
All right, Mr. Candido, to you.
I feel like I've talked about this, especially with people at the door, you know, like who are especially concerned about housing in District 8. I think a place within District 8 that is like super ripe for redevelopment is the portion of Middlesex Street that's in the district. I mean, if you go down it, there's like 8 car dealerships, like 5 fast food restaurant, like, you know, it's not really what it could be. I mean, the urban use there is really terrible. And I also think with Hadley Park there, you know, Hadley Park has a baseball field, a basketball field, a skate park, a just recently upgraded sort of playground. I think this sort of area is ripe for, you know, more housing, more commercial space. And it's also extremely accessible to the broader District 8 community for the most part. So I think I would love to see that sort of area being redeveloped. I also would like to mention that I have been, again, the candidate for public transit. And if we are looking at all of these developments coming in, you know, whether it be at Cross Point or even in the Middlesex area I just mentioned, or through downtown, if we want to make sure that more housing, more things doesn't just mean more traffic congestion and a, you know, terribly clogged up city, we need improved public transit. Is hypercritical to making sure that our economy is able to move efficiently. It's also an economy booster itself. But I think it's a critical part of making sure that more housing actually works for a city like Lowell, so that, again, we're not trapped in traffic all day. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Since we're talking about development, and it was referenced earlier as well, Tuesday night, UMass Lowell Chancellor Julie Chen appeared before the City Council and updated everybody on the progress of the LINK project, the Lowell Innovation Network Corridor. Despite what is generally heralded as positive news, there are some in the community who have been critical of the university's expansion over the last 2 decades and how it affects neighborhoods. Do you believe UMass Lowell's expansion is key to the city's growth, or does it come at the expense of the city and its residents? I believe it's you first, Mr. Candido.
Yeah, I think that that relationship is it's interesting, but it's also it's a tough one. Look, I think, you know, I went to Johns Hopkins University, and in Baltimore, they have this same issue where people in the university, they love it, and people very proximal to it love it, but they have a very poor relationship with the community because they don't pay into it as much as they should. And I think there's that, you know, that problem exists here where I think UMass Lowell, it's hypercritical towards the development of the city, you know, being able to go from pre-K to sort of a PhD in a public school setting to, you know, state college setting. It's huge. It's a big asset for a city like Lowell. But I just want to make sure that, you know, as the city grows, or as the university grows, that, you know, the broader city is also improving, that the money that's also coming in, is also being able to be diffused to other places outside of their, outside of their boundaries, into places like District 8. Look, they have a nonprofit status, or for, you know, their state college. So a lot of their land that they keep taking up will start becoming, you know, non-taxable. So I think we should look towards, you know, amending this pilot agreement we have. I think it's pretty, it's not where it should be. I think the university has a capacity to pay more into our city to make sure that, you know, as they develop, that the broader city is able to improve. So yeah, I think it's a good relationship to be maintaining. We just have to make sure that they're properly paying into our city so that we're able to all grow and not just the university be able to, like, you know, from the inside take over Lowell. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dakota.
Well, the university does pay property taxes. So they are doing that as well. They are key in a lot of sponsorships for a lot of businesses as well. But I think looking at the broader picture here, what the vision is from Chancellor Chen of what the LINK project is going to look like in 3 years. You're looking at 500 market rates suites, and those are going to be taken up by people who have just graduated from the University of Lowell, working right downtown for all the companies that are coming in, either right there in the buildings the 2 buildings that they're building, or at Hamilton Canal, where within 6 months, Teddy, all those parcels are going to be taken. People are calling Lowell because of the front runner city initiative. The amount of calls that the mayor and the city manager have received from other cities, it's been unbelievable. What did you do to make this happen? Well, you know what? And this is exactly what we did with the sustainability goals that we achieved. But having the university as a partner with the city, I mean, this is like a perfect partnership. This is going to look like a little downtown in itself. If you've seen the renderings of what it's going to look like. It's going to be vibrant. Well, why would Sea Dog Brewery want to come here? Why? Because there's opportunity for success here. You've got all the college students coming in here, you know, and I think you're going to see more restaurants come in, more people paying, more businesses paying taxes. I think we keep on coming back to taxes and taxes, which gives relief to the residents. We got to stop paying 4 or 5%. How about 2%, 1.5%, 2%? You know, that's where I'm gearing my thoughts to.
Okay. Thank you both. Done a nice job of moving it along. We've gotten to the final question. It's the one that has the little bit of a twist depending on the person starting. And we're going to start with you, Mr. 𝐃𝐸𝐬𝐜𝐭. What is one proposal of your opponents during this campaign where you think it's way out of the strike zone, completely not feasible or not right for Lowell?
I think we already touched upon it. It was the safe injection sites. I just don't see it going anywhere at this point. I think the city is doing a very good job. I think we've noticed that at South Common is not what it looked like last year. And we are reaching out, and these people are starting to come to get help. And I think that's the way to go with this. I don't want to use taxpayer money to fund buildings and staff when we can do it better. Basically it.
All right. Thank you. And for you, Mr. Candido, I'm going to stay with the baseball analogies. Okay. What is one area where you feel the incumbent has completely swung and missed or not stepped up to the plate during his council term?
Yes. First, I want to say safe injection sites have not been a part of my platform at all. They've just come up as a means of they've come up into the conversation just because of what's been happening at the state level and the city hall level. It has nothing to do with my campaign. Again, my campaign has been about affordable housing, improving infrastructure, and making sure we're fully funding our schools, which I guess is the perfect segue into sort of, my general, critique of John 𝐃𝐸𝐬𝐜𝐿 is, we defunded the schools in a year where our budget went up, in a year where our property taxes went up. And I know that he was one of the counselors that, had asked for, saving the school $2 million, but, you pull out the knife halfway. Did you really do anything? I mean, this school is, our school system is a special one. It has unique challenges and it needs all the funding it can get. And I think it's just callous that, no one was really, fighting for making sure that the funding at the very least stayed where it was. Again, we went up in budget, our taxes went up, and somehow we lost money in our school system. I think it's crazy. So I think he dropped the ball there. I think not being a counselor, again, for public transit, 𝐃𝐸𝐬𝐜𝐿 spent his life around buses and around moving the economy, but nowhere in his platform is there a really robust public transit or any sort of like that sort of thing for our city, which would not only boost the economy, save people money. It's a win-win-win type of thing for the city. And again, on the housing, I think he has not really pushed enough on making sure that we are building affordable housing. I think he's relying on these developers' good words, but we've seen in a lot of cities as developers come in promising all these good things for the city, a lot of times only they're the ones that, their pockets are the ones fattening, and the profits leave off to wherever these developers are in the world, especially as a front runner. Who knows where these developers are and stuff like that. But so yeah, I would be a stronger advocate, especially pushing for things like community benefit agreements so that we can hold these people towards legal contracts to make sure that, local input is, that they stand by what people want in the local community as they come in to move in and, gentrify these places really. So yeah.
Okay, that question was designed to have you have a chance to,
I knew that was
rebut
coming.
it.
I knew that was coming.
You did raise your hand, Mr. Dakota.
Well, I think the proof is in the pudding concerning affordable housing. I think we've done more in 2.5 years than we've done in 10 previous years before that. So I'll disagree with Marcos on that. However, I will agree with him on the transit, and I believe that, the LRT is federally funded, so they're kind of strapped on where they can and what they cannot do. Their routes are very long and winding throughout the city. I think, once again, not to bring up the front runner, but that is part of the front runners initiative, is that they don't come here just to put in housing. You better have the infrastructure to sustain the economy for that area. So I think and I think Marcos will agree with me, is that I think eventually what you're going to see is a shuttle that's just going to go around the downtown, and every 10, 15 minutes, like I saw in Geneva and in Toronto, those buses were picking up people at no cost. And we're not even sure now if it's at the end of December if LRT is going to be free, because with the federal government is up to it right now. But I think transit will be looked at with the front runner city as part of it, of the infrastructure. It has to be. It has to be, because right now I don't think it's being at its full potential right now.
Okay, Marcos, anything to wrap up that discussion?
I mean, I would just like to say that there is money now to be doing these sorts of things, and Dakota has not really pushed for it. Again, at the state level, passing something like the housing production plan would have given us access to money to be doing these things. And again, we're a city with $600 million budget. We have some sort of money to begin improving our city now. So, if you, as I've listened in on John Dakota's campaign, obviously, right, a lot of, I think his campaigning has been about the Front Runner City program. It sounds like a big prayer and hoping that they come in and fix our city. I will be the counselor that makes sure that, whatever sort of money comes into our city actually diffuses into not only just, outside of the downtown boundaries, but make sure we're positively impacting families, not, all over Lowell, including in District 8. And I also want to make sure that, I'm not here to rely on developers. I think our city, again, like I've been saying, has money to begin taking care of its people. So whether this front runner city is a flop or not, I think we have resources to begin, helping people now.
Okay.
First, I'd like to know where that money is that you're talking about. Second of all, you said about a prayer. This isn't a prayer. There's actual money coming in here in 2 weeks, probably up to $500 million just to start a project. So to say it's just a prayer, you're absolutely wrong with that. This is going to happen. And all of this is going to happen within the next 5 to 10 years of these projects. I was in Toronto. I was in Geneva. You could say $2 billion. You could say $5 billion, Teddy. I don't think they care if it's $10 billion. They're going to make sure that this is done right. And this is because this is the first front runner program in the United States. And don't you think people in the whole rest of the country are looking at Lowell saying, we want to do something like this. We want to make this the Industrial Revolution Part 2. We do. And that is not a prayer. This is going to happen. And that's what I'll say that.
My last thing is, he's asking me where's the money for these sorts of things. I would, he's in the city council, ask the city manager where he found $5 million to give to the police on a year we cut. He proposed to cut $4 million from our school budget that we had to save. Where's the money? How did we have money to increase our governmental spending $40 million over the last 4 years? It's clear that there's money there. There's money somewhere in the budget for good things. It's just a lack of political will.
You guys want to keep going? I'm happy.
No, he's fine. I'm having a good time.
This is Lincoln Douglas. Let's go. Just the two of you. I'll step out of the way.
When he talks about the police, I mean, we're still down policemen. We're supposed to be at 250, I believe, and I think we're at 228. But if you look at some of the numbers and what we've done under the leadership of Superintendent Hudon, violent crimes from last year to this year down 27%. Murders down 75%. Aggravated assaults down 35%. Aggravated assaults non-domestic, 24% decrease. Aggravated assault domestic down 34%. This isn't by chance. The police are doing their job. You know, and if this, for him to say that we're top heavy, or the captains and the sergeants, well, the new era in police reform is more supervision. And we can see it in those statistics that the police department is doing a very good job. The city is safe, and it's because of that.
Well, you know, all of those statistics, I think, just help me make my point. I mean, you know, the police officers, even your most basic police officer at this point, on average, is making like 90 to 100K, and the amount of money the police officers in the city are making only goes up from there. And you know, all of those statistics where for so many crime statistics, we're down over 20%. And also, like Dakota mentioned, and they're facing a vacancy, you know, problem, down, you know, 20 or so officers. Does this sound like a department that needs $5 million more, or in other words, $25 million more over the next 5 years? We're talking about a school system that has heavy needs now. We're talking about a school system where the 500 or more paraprofessionals are living off of 30 to 40K. I think, you know, if you start comparing these sort of things and you have $5 million in front of you, you know, where do you give it to? I'm not choosing the place where, you know, people are, you know, the median income in the city is 70K, you know, and your average cop is making 100K or more, and crimes are down and they're facing a vacancy issue. This just does not sound like a department to me that is in immediate need of $5 million additional dollars, whereas the schools are struggling, and again, like I'm saying, a large part of the workforce is struggling to make ends meet in the city. I think that's just where the money has to be going.
You wanted to?
The police have a contract, and they're up for another 3% raise. How would you like to pay with that if we're going to take that money away?
I think we have to try to push back as much as we can. I mean,
you can't push back on a contract, Marcos.
We're pushing back on
there's a 3-year. They have a 3-year contract that with a 3. I think it was 3-4-3. Teddy, maybe you might be able to correct me on that, but I think it's a 3-4-3. No, that was the school actually. The school had a 3-4-3. The police, I think, were a 3-3-3. So somebody's got to pay for that. So why don't we just add it to the taxpayers' roll? How's that?
Look, all I'm saying is if you do not properly spend your money, you're going to end up in a crisis situation. You know, it's just perfectly exemplary of like the sort of campaign that Dakota has been running. We're funneling money into things that don't need money. And then, you know, again, hoping to God that this Front Runner City program comes out to be what it is. You know, again, you know, we have all these plans, and sure, money's going to start coming in, but will it trickle down towards, you know, the people? And a lot of times these large developments don't actually end up doing that. But yeah.
Well, I would say to you that I think if you had, and not begrudging for this, but if you were in Toronto and you were in Geneva and saw what those cities look like, I think you'd have a different point of view.
I'd also think you would have a different point of view if you were actually one of the working class people in these cities, because a lot of times you go to New York City, you know, something like that, you can look up at the skies and be like, whoa, look at these amazing developments. But
in Toronto it was the same deal, Marcos. Affordable housing and market rate were in the same building. So like you said, we were talking about balance. That's exactly what we need in Lowell. The more balance, the better city.
All right.
I'm going to end on that.
It's all right. Have we exhausted it? Or?
Yeah, no. It's all right. It's okay.
Okay. I'm mad at myself for never asking that question that way in a previous debate. That was good. I should have made that the first question, and then we could have just gone. All right.
Well, I think that's what
we should charge him.
Well, I think that's what we've talked about in the last debate too, which was, you know, or I think I've talked about this in general about the debates in Lowell, where there's not enough points of contention. I guess there's not enough time to like talk to each other. Stuff like that. So it was good.
Well, I think we may have found the formula. So thank you both for answering the questions and for the spirited back and forth. Closing statements. Opening statement. We started with you, Mr. Candido. Mr. Dakota, you get the closing statement first.
Thank you, Teddy. Once again, thank you to InsideLowell for having Marcos and myself here today. Once again, I apologize for reading off the sheet, but do the best I can. My name is John Dakota, and I'm running for re-election so that I can build on the work we've already accomplished to make Lowell and the Upper Highlands the best city and the best neighborhood that can be. I've lived in Lowell my entire life, and like most District 8 residents, I understand the challenge of raising a family and paying taxes, while also supporting local businesses and working to make our community a better place. I worked 18 years for the Lowell Public Schools, ensuring as transportation director that our students make it to school safely and on time each and every day, while also working in the Family Resource Center to support families navigating the sometimes challenging educational landscape, especially for those new to our community. Throughout this forum, I've highlighted that my many accomplishments from these last 2 years. Lowell stands on the cusp of becoming a model of what an urban city can do to reinvent itself in the 21st century. With the front-runner city designation that the administration, my colleagues, and I have worked hard to secure, we are on the verge of another economic and social rebirth of our city. A city where all of our residents have access to quality, affordable home ownership. A city where all of our residents have access to quality jobs and education that will allow them to realize the American dream, just as so many generations of residents and immigrants before them have had the pleasure of realizing. There is still so much more to do. I will work toward these next 2 years. I thank you for the opportunity to be here today, and thank you for the privilege of allowing me to represent the Upper Highlands in the city that I loved for the last 2 years. Once more, my name is John Dakota, and I humbly ask you for your vote to continue the work we're doing for the residents of District 8 and for the city of Lowell. Thank you, Teddy.
Thank you, Mr. Dakota. Mr. Candido, your closing statement.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, again, thank you, Teddy, for having me on here. It'll be maybe a while till we see each other again. But it was a pleasure. It was obviously a pleasure to talk to you, John, as well. Look, our city is at an interesting crossroads. The general economy is not really doing too hot. People are struggling, but our city is looking at a golden age in some sort of way, with the link projects and the recent developments that the governor had mentioned with Draper and stuff like that at the Innovation District, and not to mention the Front Runner City program. So, we're at this very interesting cross point where a lot of people are really struggling, but somehow our city is also about to, explode. But again, it's still an open question of who really will end up benefiting from this. I want to be the counselor, and I will be the counselor that makes sure that, that the people of Lowell actually are the ones who benefit from this, that the housing is actually for people from Lowell and not just for people in Boston looking for cheaper rents, that the money doesn't just stay within downtown, but that all over the city we have improved public transit infrastructure, improved access to parks, improved maintenance of our parks. I will be the counselor that makes sure we're fully funding our schools. I hope I've made it clear at this point. Like, this is a big thing of mine. It's a critical way towards making sure we have outstanding citizens. We have the money to do good things. People deserve good things in this city. The working class people of our city just want to live a simple and happy life. And I want to be the counselor that will strongly advocate for solutions that will help us move in that direction. So I guess at this point, I will humbly ask for your vote. Either today or tomorrow by 3 p.m. at the Senior Center for Early Voting, or on Tuesday on the general election day by 8 p.m. I'd love to be your representation in City Hall and making sure that our district grows and that our entire city is able to be taken care of. So thank you.
All right. Thank you to both of you for coming in here and participating. As Marcos mentioned, voting is going on right now. Mail-in ballots are still coming in, according to the elections director, Will Rosenberry. Mail ballots coming in at a higher clip than 2023. I'm told the early voting, at least in the initial day or two, was also at a pretty good little clip. So hopefully we can get a much better turnout and get a better representation of our city and our electorate in electing our next city council. Thank you to both. Good luck. One of you will be unlucky enough to win and have to deal with me for the next 2 years. But we appreciate The city's a better place because of both of your campaigns. Thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in as well. There you go. Some clear differences between the two candidates, some agreements, but now you have a better understanding of where they are, where their priorities are. No excuse not to vote in District 8. No excuse not to vote anywhere in the city. Plenty of opportunities to do it early in person, mail-in voting, and of course, Election Day, 7 a.m. The polls open. They close at 8 p.m. Election Day, less than a week away, Tuesday, November 4th. And after you voted, I'm going to give myself a little plug here, or at least Inside Lowell. Tune in for our live election coverage beginning at 7 p.m. We'll wind down the final hour of voting, give you a little sense of what the turnout has been like, what the day has been like, and then when the polls close at 8 p.m. and the results start getting released at the different polling locations, we'll report them to you. You get your results fast, you'll get them first here. At Inside Lowell, we've put together the most experienced election team around. I'll be here along with Greg Pappas, former elections director in the city of Lowell. Our friend Asa Stutz helping me gather the numbers. Jerry Nutter will be here. Former city councilors John Leahy and Jim Leary will be here, as will Erin Gendron, the newest member of our election team. She'll be here as well to break down all the races and, more importantly, tell you what it all means after the results are known. So thank you again for tuning in. We have one more debate coming up. We'll actually drop it tonight/Thursday night. It will be the District 7 candidates, Sidney Liang and Paul Rattayem. Thank you, everybody. Till next time on the Daily Pulse, stay safe, and I'll see you on the other side.